Hello and welcome to this edition of Startup Central. I'm Nayantara. This is the only show of its kind on Indian television dedicated, of course, to startups, innovation, technology, disruption. Basically, if it falls under the aegis of the new economy, is going to be here on your favorite channel, ET Now, every weekday at sharp 6 p.m. Like all the stakeholders of the economy, of the new economy that we keep getting on the show, the team that puts the show together, the Startup Central team, thrives on constructive criticism. So keep writing into us to tell us how to take the show to the next level. If you don't tell us, who's going to tell us? We love getting your emails on how to do things differently, what to add to the show, what to remove from the show. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. As of now, after December 31st, e-commerce companies will no longer be allowed to save your credit card and debit card details on their sites. In fact, no merchant is going to be allowed to do that. What does it mean? Will you have to punch in all your details every time you want to buy a movie ticket, a grocery item to be delivered in less than 10 minutes or the next day, makeup, cosmetics, fashion, whatever it is that you might be buying, including medicines, essentials, will you have to do that each time? The RBI wants tokenization, a unique token for your credit cards that should be with the merchants. How is this really going to work? Before we go any further, my colleague Ankur breaks it down really simply for you.
In last few days, you would have heard tokenization a lot, especially those who are using e-commerce platform. So let us understand what is going to change from 1st of Jan. So from 1st of January, e-commerce or online service providers will not be able to store any of your card data, meaning any credit or debit card data on their platforms, and that will be replaced with a surrogate code called token. Now, if they are using that code, so what is the process of tokenization? So the replacement of credit and debit card details with the alternate code is the tokenization for them, and that has been mandated by Reserve Bank of India in the month of September. So what are the benefits of that? First thing is that it is secure. Otherwise, what happens when any of the card data is there with the service provider, there is a chance that any of the hacking or hackers may happen because they can steal your data. Now, this chance is minimized because actually a service provider does not have any of your data. They are just using a token. So, how will it help? It will definitely make you a secure payment for you. What you need to do for this tokenization to be effective from 1st of January, you can give your consent on the online platform to say that, okay, this is my data and this token can be created. And for that, if you don't do that, every time you have to enter the whole details, meaning the card number, CVV, expiry date, have to be entered every time. So you can do that additional factor authentication on the online platform to give your consent for tokenization to be effective from 1st of January 2022. Now there are other sides too. Some of the merchants are saying that they are not ready for this, the infrastructure is not ready, they have gone to RBI for taking more time, while on the other side, RBI has been maintaining till now that since it assures your security, you need to give your consent for the tokenization.
So there you go. Now you guys have an idea of what tokenization means. I'm going to go across now to the co-founder CEO of Cashfree, Akash Sinha, who's joining us on Startup Central on this really burning issue. Akash, you guys are building a product around tokenization. It'll be good for your startup. It'll be good for your business. But first up, tell me, how will tokenization really work?
Great. So Nayantara, I think before I get into the solution, I think just like to give a small brief, right? Just so far, payment companies have been allowed to store card on file, right? So whenever you want to store your card, so we're allowed to store the card on file, and we definitely were, like encrypting it and storing in a database. But historically, I think in the last few years, there have been issues around data leakage, and RBI has come up with this guideline of not storing the card, but store tokens instead. So this new concept is called tokenization file, through which any authorized payment requester, any authorized token requester can reach out to the card networks like Visa, MasterCard, RuPay, and they can request a similar looking token from them, and they can instead store the token rather than storing the card details. Right? So for the end consumer, the flow would be very similar to what they have been enjoying so far. But from a safety perspective, it is like, super secure now. And imagine if there is a chance of any kind of leakage, right? So if your token gets leaked out, there is zero damage on the financial of either of the merchant or customer, right? Because you cannot you cannot process any transaction using those tokens, right? So that's why this is a move in a great direction. This will make people more secure, more safer about digital transaction, and at the same time, it will give them very seamless experience, which they have been enjoying at a lot of places today.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate. It's going to be a big inconvenience for the consumers, isn't it? We're still all getting used to what, the auto pay no longer being there. Now you're going to have tokenization too, from a consumer perspective.
Yeah, I think this will be inconvenience for the first time. Say, after first gen, if you go to the favorite e-commerce website, right, and you had the card stored there already, right? So after first gen, you have to give them consent again to get your card tokenized. Once you give them the consent, they will talk to someone like Cashfree, right? Cashfree will talk to the network, will request the token against that card number. And for all these subsequent transaction, customer can just, do the way they have been doing earlier, right? So they can just go to the e-commerce website, they can see their card is stored there, they can see the token is stored there, and they can just click on the pay button. So inconvenience would be there, but only for the first time after first gen. But for all the repeat purchases, it will be very seamless experience.
But where will this leave, all of those folks who have also built products around single click, like Simple, for example? You started to see this becoming popular on merchant platforms, Zomato to Swiggy, where, you don't have to keep punching in each time. And for a transaction below a certain amount, like I said, these products allow it to sail through.
Right. See, that technology is Visa safely, which few of these e-commerce companies have been using. So that has been around for a good amount of time. But the tokenization, it's a bit more generic, right? So Visa safely only works on app, but tokenization will work across your app, website, or any of the wearable, right? So you can use any device to store token, and that device could be used to make transactions on this digital ecosystem side, right? So it's a very generic solution. So people can store token inside the database, and whenever they have to process a transaction, they can use that token, send it to the network, and get the transaction processed. And secondly, there will be two-factor authorization involved, even you are using the token to process that transaction.
But let's break it down a little more, Akash. And the deadline, of course, is December 31st for now. There is a lot of petitions before the Reserve Bank of India to extend the deadline. You've said it's a one-time inconvenience. Now, it's a one-time, and I'll take a hypothetical case. So let's say Nayantara. Let's say I already have Zomato, Nykaa, Swiggy, Paytm. I'm taking hypothetical cases on my phone. Tomorrow, I want to download a new app.
Right.
What happens then? Do I have to go through it all over again? Is this only for my existing apps? And I'm breaking it down so just that our viewers also understand. Let's say I download a new e-commerce. Let's say Sugar Cosmetics or some of them. I download one app like that, and do I have to keep punching it in every time I download an app?
See, in the transaction flow today, there are two flows users go through. In first the flow where user transact on the app, but when they have to make the payment, they go to the payment checkout page, which is at times powered by Cashfree. Right? If a merchant is using Cashfree checkout page, then user doesn't have to keep on storing the card details again and again. So they will come to Cashfree payment page, they'll see their card is stored already. They can just click the pay button and the payment will go through. In the second case scenario where merchants accept card details on their page, right? If a merchant has that flow, then whenever you download app of such merchant, you have to request for the tokenization, and every time you do it for the first time, right? So if you download a new app and if you're transacting for the first time you have to punch in the card details, right? In the backend, that app can store the token, but for all your subsequent purchase, you can just transact using a token, right? To give you more practical, like how your experience will be, right? So if you go to Zomato tomorrow, say after 1st Jan, you'll have to, give them consent to so that they can request your token. But for your next purchase, you don't have to punch in your card details, right? So you'll have to do same thing with all the 4 apps you mentioned. But if the 5th app, if they accept card details on their page, then you have to do it again. You have to punch in the card. But if the 5th app uses Cashfree's, like hosted checkout page, then you don't have to do it.
What if I lose my credit card and I get a new credit card? Again, I have to do it. What if my credit card expires and the bank issues me the new credit card? Then again, I have to do it.
Yeah, because token is mapped to your 16-digit card number, right? See, I mean, this is the entire security part of. If you get a new credit card number, if you get a new 16-digit credit card number, you have to request for the fresh tokenization, which is something you even do today when you are using the saved card feature, right? If you go to your Paytm or any of the app, if your card has been saved earlier, and if you want to use a new card, you have to definitely save it. So tokenization flow would work similar the way it is working right now. Overall, let's see, now as a customer, right, in the larger takeaway, as a customer, I can be
Now tell us about.
Right, so tomorrow, if the app which I'm using to store my card details, if the data gets leaked, then there is zero financial damage on me. Right? That is the best part of this entire feature.
There is one other benefit that is being seen for tokenization, which is to do with QR codes. Right now, QR codes, primarily work on UPI. How is tokenization going to be a game changer when it comes to QR codes and let's say credit cards, debit cards?
Okay. See, in terms of QR support, we already have a Bharat QR supported right now, along with UPI QR, and that has been around for the last 2 to 3 years. So even today, if you have an app, I think a lot of banks support it, you can tokenize your card there, and you can still scan that Bharat QR code to make payment. I think with tokenization, I think tokenization as a solution has been around for a long time. This is not something new that we are enforcing, right? But given that mandate has become new, this will become a norm. But tokenization as a solution has been around in the industry for a good amount of time. It's just that it hasn't become popular in the ecosystem so far. Right? So tomorrow your UPI app can also tokenize your card, right? You can take the same mobile. You can even punch it to the POS, or you can use a QR code scanning to make the payment.
You started this interview by talking to me about safety. Now, everything can be stolen, right? Our data can be stolen, our credit card details can be stolen, Aadhaar details can be stolen, and we've heard all of those horrific stories. We don't talk enough about not having very good cyber laws either. What happens if a token is stolen?
Yeah, for that, I'll just give a technicality, right? Suppose there's a merchant A who has requested a token from Visa against a Visa card number, right? So tomorrow the database of merchant A gets leaked, right? So if I'm a scammer, right, the token is useless for me because I need a merchant A credentials to make a call to Visa to process a transaction. Right? In the older scenario, as soon as I get the card number, I can send the card number to Visa, my transaction will get processed. But in the new scenario, if I get a token, I also have to send an identifier of merchant A along with the token to Visa to get my transaction processed. Right? So in this new setup, even if you have managed to steal token from any of the merchant, it's useless to that scammer. Right? You cannot do anything with that. And this network will issue different token for every merchant they work with. Right? So if you are using 4 apps, right, these 4 apps will have these 4 apps will have 4 tokens against your same card number.
Does any other country do this, or is India pioneering it?
So India is mandating this. So safeguard is still allowed in all the countries in the world. Right? India is the first country who has been coming with this mandate of you cannot store card in a plain text manner. Instead, you should store token. But this technology has been around, but it has not been mandated by any of the countries so far. Right. So India is the first. See, in India, digital fraud has been increasing over the period of last few years, and StoreCard has been playing a role in that part, right? I mean, there have been cases about StoreCard being leaked in the market, and people gets exploited due to that. I think it's a move in the right direction. I'm sure many other countries could follow if this thing becomes successful, because there's such a big change, right? It's not easy to take a call about making this mandatory.
Then why are the Visas, the MasterCards, the e-commerce companies, the banks against tokenization? You're painting a very different picture, and I started this interview by saying that Cashfree might benefit from it because they built a product around it.
That is true, right? I think we have to look at the longer picture, right? I think maybe there are players in the market who are not, this is, I think RBI has extended that deadline once. I think most of the players in the industry are ready with it, right? So there might be certain use cases where tokenization may not be too helpful, right? It's not just about purchase use flow. There are a lot of use cases where stored card has been, playing a role. So I think it also depends on the readiness. I think if people are ready, then I don't see an issue. As a feature, it's a great concept, right? But we also have to see if people are ready to implement it and go live with it. right? So having said that, on the e-commerce purchase side, we are ready. We are ready to release a product, next week, token board. And for any merchant who wants to continue with the safeguard experience, they can integrate with us and go live.
What kind of merchants will you be working with?
All the e-commerce merchants, right? I mean,
Give us names.
The names you took. The names you took, I think, so once they go live, we can share them, but there are merchants in the process of integrating it. Right? I mean, whatever merchant, all the merchants that work with Cashfree today, right? We have, merchants like Echo, merchants like Nika. So these are all the merchants who use us for payment processing. So, right, then we have customers like Delivery, Dunzo.
So from a consumer's perspective, the one-time inconvenience that you spoke about, the one-time token that they need to punch in, will that have to be punched in on every single app, whether it's an Uber, Ola, Zomato, Swiggy, Nykaa, Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra? I could go on and on and on, right?
Yes, I mean, it has to be done once, right? Say, and again, but even today, right, in the month of December and November, a lot of companies have started taking consent already, right? So if you have purchased on these websites in these months, right, you could have given your consent and they can tokenize your card after first gen, right? So you may not have to punch it again. It's right. It's just that after first gen, it is becoming mandatory. But even today, you can tokenize the card and be ready with the token. So it totally depends on how these companies are rolling out their tokenization service. Right? If they do it well, then you may not see any inconvenience. But if they are not ready in this month, so from next month, if they start rolling it out, then you may see inconvenience there. But that will also make customers aware, right? What is exactly happening, and that will make them feel
But then
more
if you're going to
secure.
have tokenization,
Right.
the point I'm also trying to grapple, I'm not able to understand, and I thought you'll be the best person to ask this. If you're going to have tokenization, can it allude to the fact that recurring payments and autopay will come back? Because then what is the sense of having tokenization and not allowing autopay?
See, autopay will work on top of this tokenization, right? I mean, in autopay, there has been one more guidelines which came in effect a month ago, right? Before debiting the customer's account, you have to send them a debit SMS, and then only you can debit their account, next day. So that has been the new regulation on the autopay side. But yeah, this autopay will work on top of this tokenization concept itself. Right? There won't be any underlying change for the customer or the merchant, just that the backend processing will change, for them. So even today, you can, process autopay with credit card. But after this new rule, you can also use, debit card in terms of, subscription flow.
With that, Akash, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out, for joining us here.
Thank you. Thank you, Nayantara.